Hey guys, this is Andy from Ironman4x45.com, also known as Ironman Andy, and you're listening to the XJ Talk Show.
Good evening and welcome to the XJ Talk Show pre-show. And I find it interesting that my I don't know what you call it, this mic boom thing that I bought, I guess maybe a year or so ago. It's been here long enough to start developing dust on top of it. Yes.
Oh boy.
Yes, I think it's time to clean. And as you can hear, Josh has joined us. Josh has been sitting patiently as I finish editing things and getting ready, something I should have done earlier, but you know, I love my naps.
Hey, I'm with you there, buddy. I'm a little unprepared for this evening's show myself. Just putting the finishing touches on the show notes and some notes for myself, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I've been pretty tied up over, most of this week anyways, and normally during the day when I would have time to adjust and take care of these sort of things, I just haven't had that spare time. So, did spend a little bit of time in the studio last night, as you know. So hopefully you got those, and you got those little promos I did loaded up in their board tonight.
Yep. Some very exciting announcements, and gives people the reason for living, I think. So at least gives me reason for living. So let's.
Glad I could help.
I do need to get those on the board. Anyway, we'll get going here in just a minute. Maybe a little late tonight. Not too late, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be too terribly late. Probably around the same kind of time frame. Well, actually, I might be finished up here in the next 5 or 10 minutes, so we'll see.
We have 2 Nikki G voicemails.
Okay.
I did not prepare a Jeep tip.
And I don't have one either, but I figure we've got other things that we can talk about. So
okay, good.
It might end up being a slightly shorter show than normal. It's not going to be necessarily a bad thing, I suppose.
Yeah. I'll be shooting for that hour mark tonight.
Mm-hmm. We'll stretch some things.
Less is fine. I just try to keep it an hour or less.
to help you, just let me by your side. Don't go deeper, don't reject me. Nowhere for you to hide. Listen to me. Don't close your mind. Believe in me. I swear that despite any strife, I won't give up, it is my fate. I will not let it spoil your life. This bird could well be all you get. I pray the gods I know that cares. For you were not ever once free. Alive at last in my embrace. On the right side of sanity. Beware you're being pulled under. You'll soon be out of breath. Take my hand or you'll go deeper and contemplate your death. Your willingness or absence of will make the difference. I've gathered all my human force to help you say.
Bring you up to date a little bit on the conversation going on Facebook, XJ Talk Facebook, Josh. You know, since you're not involved in the social media aspect of Facebook or the promotion of XJ Talk on Facebook or Twitter.
How dare you?
Or Google Plus. But anyway, there was a gentleman that contacted me today on Facebook chat. Said, I have a major problem with my Jeep. And my question was, is it a 2014?
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. And he went on to explain that he took his beloved Jeep, I think he said it was an 89, to the gear shop, and told him put 488 gears in front and rear, and when he said the front and the Dana 44 in back. And I said, okay. And they called him and said it was ready, and said, oh, by the way, that's not a Dana 44, that's a Dana 35.
Yes, there it is.
So they didn't say, hey, it's not a Dana 44 before doing the work. They just ordered the gears, installed, and said it's ready.
Oh, boy. Well, hopefully he was able to make it home.
He's going to go pick it up Sunday.
Oh.
But he's not a happy camper.
Because of the price tag, I bet?
No, because it's two things. He thought he had a Dana 44, and now he's got a Dana 35 with 488 gears and a locker.
Well, that's not going to last long.
So, yeah. Yeah, I was confused. We had a bit of a long conversation before I finally just asked him. I don't understand how they got the Dana 35 or the Dana 44 ring and pinion in the Dana 35. And he says, no, I dropped it off, told him I wanted the gears installed, and they ordered it. But, why wouldn't they call me and tell me you don't have a Dana 44? Obviously, he should have done his homework and made sure that what he thought he had, he had. In his defense, he thought it was a Dana 44, and the people that really should know, the ones working on it, should have probably taken the time to call him and say, hey, is this a Dana 44? What do you want to do? Of course, you don't make any money that way.
Yeah, that's true.
Somebody goes, oh, gee, thank you, and I'll be back when I have a different axle for you to re-gear. Anyway, I took a screenshot of the chat on the part where he said I have a major problem with my Jeep and my little quip about the 2014, and it was quite popular on the as far as the likes and a bit of a conversation. And somebody had said something negative about the 2014 Jeep Cherokee, strange as that may seem, and I posted a reminder that we had quite a bit of good news about the 2014 Cherokee sales-wise, and posted up the link to last week's show.
Hey, completely off topic and but kind of relevant here. I've got some electrical and audio tips kind of stored here from past shows. I don't know if we want to resurrect one to throw in for tonight.
Anything that we're gonna put up, I have to edit, and that's kind of the problem. I have a Jeep tips or tip that I could run, but I'd have to edit it, and I just don't have time to do that.
Gotcha.
You don't feel like talking tonight, do you?
I'm a little under the weather, man. Everybody at work is sick, and I'm doing my best to avoid it. I can feel it starting to come on, so I'm not 100%. So yeah, it's just, and it's what's going around too, which is supposedly this H1N1 virus, and if that's it, man, geez, I hope I don't get it. That's all I gotta say.
So have you checked the Honda for any heavy duty pharmaceuticals that could help you out? Little something man, help a brother out.
I don't want any of that.
It won't make you any better, it'll just make you feel better.
Yeah, it'll make me feel something. All right, I gotta strip a layer. Hang on.
All right.
Okay, all better.
So as I was mentioning before, we this is the pre-show. We're running a little late tonight. We'll be getting the show going here in a minute. Show might be a little short tonight. We'll see. We've thought that before, and then had to slap ourselves silly to stop talking, so we could so we could be done within an hour. So it's the fun of podcasting. You just never know.
Well, I've pretty much got everything that I need up on the screen. So if you're ready, I'm ready.
Well, I'm ready. So
all right.
The hell? Come on. There we go. Trying to get something to come up and it wouldn't. But that happens as you get older. All right. Let's see. No comments. Good or bad. We do have an audience.
Don't have any iTunes reviews, do we?
I did not check. I'm just here to talk, and press buttons.
I thought that was my job. Well, except for the button pressing.
Hell no, man. You're doing all the work.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Nikki G. And hey, this is Nikki G.
I'm missing one. No, I'm missing two. All the hard work you did last night.
Uh-oh.
Got busy talking.
I thought I heard you queuing them up earlier.
Well, let's see. No? Don't remember dragging them over here. Okay. Let's see. Got to get it on the screen, drag and drop, and then it'll be there. Check the volume.
Just when you guys thought it was safe to minimize all the other windows and close all the other tabs, Tony and I throw a little monkey wrench in your plans and decide that we're not as prepared as we thought we were.
Well, it would have been worse if the show was actually going on and I was doing this.
Yeah. Wait, pause. Hold on. Take two.
Timeout. And don't worry, this part will be removed.
Yeah. That's the fun of the live show, folks. Is you get all this kind of behind the scenes and nifty, behind the curtain peek at sort of how the sausage is made. And of course, the podcast is much tidier than all this is. But again, that's the fun of the live show. You get to see all this kind of stuff, or at least hear it for now.
27 people just disconnected, and that included 5 women when you said sausage. Let's see. I can put it there. Oh, I like this one.
Ooh, red Jeeps are sexy.
It's right. It's right under that one.
Yes.
Almost there.
Hey guys, no, we're not doing the 4th of July. We here at Sneak Peek.
Yeah.
We here at the Extra.
Yuki dookie.
Breaking news across the XJ Talk Show news desk. Honey Boo Boo buys controlling interest in Jeep and renames the new Cherokee the Sketty Cart. Full report coming up right after this.
Hey, stud. It's time for the XJ Talk Show. Now, here's my 2 favorite boys, Tony and Josh.
Hey guys, episode 112. You know it better as XJ Talk Show, and we're here because of a great Jeep website, the XJ. I want to say XJ Talk Show again. The xjtalk.com site. Obviously, right, Josh?
Obviously, it's going to be one of those nights, Tony. Yeah. I just have a feeling it's going to be one of those episodes. Well, we should have a lot of fun for you guys tonight. Might be a little bit shorter of an episode than typical, but you never know. Tony and I have ran into this situation before where we come into the show just a skosh underprepared, and we end up actually going long. And it very well could happen tonight. But we got some stuff for you nonetheless. Got some more chit chat. Going to talk about a wheeling trip that I have coming up here real soon. Some more news about the theft of my car. Of course, I have it back. I'll bring you guys up to speed here in just a little bit. Got a couple stories for you this week in Jeep, and we got some voicemails to share with you as well.
Yes, we do, and some more good stuff from Nikki G on the voicemail line. And you guys should get involved in our voicemail. As we always say, we really enjoy it. I don't know why you guys don't call in. It's a lot of fun, and Josh and I laugh, and we get lots of compliments from people on Facebook and Twitter, which we're also on. And when I say we, I mean me. And
yes, Tony does the lion's share of the work on the social media side of things.
Well, it's not really work though. I mean, it's more fun than anything else. Like today, I was telling Josh on during the pre-show that there was a guy that sent me a chat message today. First name is Mark, and not Detours Mark, but Mark. Anyway, he says, have a major problem with my Jeep. And I asked him, is it a 2014 Cherokee? Which,
good qualifying question right there.
Which he didn't respond to, and went on to explain how the shop had installed a 488 gear set into his, what he thought was a Dana 44 and was actually a Dana 35. And, he was kind of upset they didn't call him and tell him before they did it. So now he's got a halfway polished turd.
Yeah, the Dana 35 is what they call those.
Yep.
No offense to you guys out there who are still running them. I mean, hey, it gets you around. It can get you around on the trail fine enough, but certainly not what you want underneath your the back end of your Jeep.
Well, it's like hauling nitroglycerin back in the 1800s across the rocky trails, the horse-drawn carriages or wagons. You don't actually know when it's going to blow.
That's right.
It might get you from one end of the country to the other and be perfectly fine, or it might just blow your ass off.
Now, I've wheeled with guys that have ran the 35, and on 35s, they do the Super 35 kit or whatever, and beef them up as much as possible, and it gets them around. And honestly, I've seen them wheel pretty hard, and they last. Recently, I actually talked with a guy who's a member on NAXT, the North American XJ Association, and he's got an older model, older body style Cherokee, high pinion Dana 30 and a Dana 35. And oddly enough, believe it or not, he's running 40s. And yes, the axles are still intact. Well, the Dana 35 has not jumped out of the Jeep and ran down the street eating small children. It's still under the Jeep and still intact. And he's not going through axle shafts left and right, oddly enough. We're going to try and get him actually on the podcast here one of these days. Schedules have not worked out, but the guy's definitely got a very interesting build. And I'd love to share the story with you guys. It's a lot of fun, very neat, and we got to hear how he squeezed some 40s underneath the Cherokee on stock axles.
Well, our beloved Steve 4.3 LXJ is running a Dana 35 on his XJ with I forget what size tires he's running. I'm not sure if he's at 33 or not, but he certainly is with an 8-inch lift and V6 engine. General Motors engine in that Jeep. He's been running the Dana 35 for a while, but he does have a axle in the shop waiting to go in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I must have missed that post on xjtalk.com. A lot of stuff going on the website lately. A lot of good threads, a lot of good builds that have been popping up. We got a guy who's contemplating doing a diesel build on a Cherokee.
Yep.
Would very much like to see that go to completion, and if it does, we got to have him on the podcast because getting somebody to sit down and just kind of BS with us a little bit about everything that really went through the process of getting a diesel put into a Cherokee. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Cherokees did come with a diesel option, very limited and a very, very narrow window, and it was on the older body styles. Of course, most of the European Jeeps came with a diesel standard, I think, and it was an option to get a gasoline engine. But those are floating around out there, but you got to go across the pond to get those.
Yep, we're talking about Matt MS or M Smorenberg. Always make that mistake. Sorry, Matt.
Oh,
It just looks like it should be that way, and he won't. And damn it, he won't change the name. I keep asking him to, but he won't do it. Anyway, Matt's looking. He's got a 5-cylinder, or I think he said he's got at least half of a 5-cylinder Mercedes engine, and he's already looked at the engine mounting plate, the part that would go between it and the transmission. And he doesn't want to mess with all the computer-controlled AW4 stuff, so he'd be switching over to what is it? What's the 5-speed? The AX15?
Yeah, AX15. Yep. Yeah. And this is like a early to mid 80s Mercedes diesel, as you mentioned, that was typically found in the D300s or something like that.
I'd be lying.
I mean, it's definitely the older, rounder style Mercedes that you typically see out in the desert, with a couple of rocket launchers sticking out the back of it.
And this would be in a 2000, and really a beautiful, and I might also say red 2000 XJ.
Ooh, red Jeeps are sexy.
And Matt's not a big fan of red. He's more of a fan of white. I mean, anything that he buys new seems to be white. So, and of course he has a black Jeep, as a few people do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, including myself as well. And,
that's
speaking
right.
of that's right. Yeah, I'm speaking of my black Jeep. I'm going to be doing some stuff to it here real soon. But I've got a wheeling trip coming up here this weekend. I'm going to head out and see if I can't find some snow. We've been neglected by Mother Nature with the snowfall. It seems like everybody else but us has been getting any snow. And for those of you guys who are new to the show, I live up in the Pacific Northwest in the Portland metro area in the lovely state of Oregon, and of course it rarely snows here. When it does, it's very nice. I love it a lot. I love driving in the snow. Love playing in it even more, and wheeling in it is a blast. So those of you in the southern states who never see the white stuff, you guys are missing out. You got to come up north a little bit and come play in the white stuff every now and again. So that's the plan for Sunday. Sunday is going to be spent heading out to the Tillamook State Forest, about halfway between where I'm at and the Oregon coast, and head up into the hills and see if I can't find some snow. going out with a couple of buddies. 92 War Wagon might join us. We've got some work to do on his Cherokee, which we recently put a 4.5-inch long arm kit on. He's got some trimming that he's got to do and some fine tuning. He's also got a locker that he wants to put in. He got one of the lockers, which is essentially like an Aussie locker that he wants to put in the front axle. Don't know if that's going to happen or not. He was thinking about tackling that this evening, but I told him you better not because we're doing the podcast tonight and we need you to listen. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but nonetheless, I'm sure we'll get an update on that here next week or on the website here very soon. But I'm also going up with the regional Metal Cloak rep. He's got one heck of a TJ, and it's just built to all heck and back. And had a local axle manufacturer hook him up with what essentially is like a Dana 60 and a Dana 44 hybrid. Just a massive, massive axle on the back end. It's been trimmed to length. It's not a full width axle, but it's just fully built. And the thing is just armored up all to heck and back. Got some very, very fancy suspension stuff going on. And he keeps telling me that they're threatening to release some stuff for the Cherokees. And for those of you who don't know, Metal Cloak is really doing some cool stuff with control arms. And of course, all of us with a 4-link front end, control arms are definitely on our radar. And Metal Cloak by far has developed these rod ends for control arms, which outflex and outlast virtually everything else out on the market, hands down. And I'm talking by a landslide. Even Johnny joints don't flex as much as these guys' joints do. So it's very interesting to see if they end up developing that technology and making it work for the Cherokees. I know they have an XJ in the shop right now. It's just a matter of how much is going into the development of that. I know they're trying to make it to the King of Hammers. So the XJ stuff, the R&D side of that thing might be on the back burner for a little while. So we'll see. But nonetheless, going to head up into the mountains this weekend. Going to do some very light wheeling. I'm not trying to get into too heavy of stuff. You know, it is still cold. It's wet. There could be snow up there. And I'm not trying to do any trail repairs in that kind of condition. So we'll see how things turn out. I'm going to break out the new GoPro. Got some memory cards for it here recently, and going to take its inaugural run out there, get some footage, and see what we can't see when we're up there wheeling. So I'll be sure to be sharing some videos with you guys here next week as well.
So I know that anybody that's been following the show here for the last several episodes knows that you had some motor mount issues, and you decided upon, I think, going with, God, I was going to say Iron Rock. What is it? Rock Auto. Purchasing some, really just some stock motor mounts to get you by from now. So have you replaced those yet?
Yeah. So, the OEM replacements that I got through Rock Auto are in the Jeep now. So those went in with relative ease. I've done the job before. Definitely helps to have, another person there, because you do have to manipulate the engine a little bit, jacking it up, from underneath with a board under the oil pan. Prying on it to get a little bit left and right, up and down, back and forth, and finally getting things lined up just perfect to get those motor mounts in. And it went in with relatively ease. They dropped right in, things bolted right up. It's all good. And I'm glad to not have the engine bouncing around in my engine compartment anymore. So those are in. I'm comfortable wheeling it now. Before I, with the engine the way it was with the motor mount specifically, I really, of course, didn't want to wheel it. I hated even driving it on the street. But you got to get to the parts store every now and again. Obviously I was without my Honda for a short period of time. So, I was left with no choice, but yeah, the motor mounts are in. These are temporary. I will be replacing them with some brown dogs here in the near future. So look forward to that as well. But these will at least tide me over for the meantime. It'll get me up on the trails, get me back wheeling, which is something that I very much like to do. And I've been itching, Tony. The last time I had the Jeep out off-road was the weekend of Thanksgiving. So it's been a little while. So I'm overdue, I think.
Yes. So about the Honda, if you guys don't know, Josh bought a Honda as a daily driver so he wouldn't have to spend so much money and not feel so cool driving back and forth to work in his XJ. And it was stolen. It was involved in a high-speed pursuit, and then
That's right.
As you often see on cops and things, the driver bailed out while it was still moving and ran. So he got his beloved Honda back, and what I'd like to know, and what I think the audience would like to know is, Do you have a chain through the wheel now? I mean, how are you protecting it? Because I'm sure nothing's changed, or maybe you've got full coverage on it now, and you got the keys taped to the side of the door. I don't know.
No, hey, I like that idea. Actually, excuse me, I need to go take care of something real quick. I gotta. No, I've got an alarm on the Honda, and of course I've checked all the locks because I think the question actually came up the last episode on the condition of the lock cylinders, the ignition, and all that, and so I have since verified that all of the locks are functioning, they work properly. And they're not all bent out or exploded or anything like that. So I've got 2 levels of security right now, and that should be fine. And I'm sure it's going to be attractive for if and when somebody ends up picking this thing up. I have not yet posted it on Craigslist for sale yet. I've been threatening to sell it for a little while now, and pretty much ever since I got it back, it's really plain and simply just not the same car that I bought, and not because it's dirty. It's been totaled, but it's been tainted. It's dirty. It is dirty.
It's a hot shower. It's not something a hot shower will take care of.
Oh no, I don't think so. Well, especially judging by some of these mug shots I've seen of the character who stole this thing.
Well, that's the other thing. You were going to be going to the grand jury hearing or whatever it is, and what happened with that? Did they let you in? Did you take the bag of trash?
Despite a thorough cavity search, they did let me into the building, and
but that was requested. Let's be honest.
Well, I did stand in the extra request line. Just hey, I'll sign up for one of those. No.
No glove needed, sir.
It was middle of the afternoon. I had to take half the day off of work, drive all the way downtown, and I'm missing more work. And drive all the way downtown and go to the courthouse and sit through what had to have been probably one of the biggest wastes of time I've ever spent.
Now, why did I think that was going to be the case?
Well, look, it's all a formality. It's all a formality. It's just going through the motions and stuff. And what's really interesting is the one of the deputy district attorneys. Obviously, the DA has got bigger fish to fry. So even though his name was on the subpoena that I got, he wasn't there. He sent one of his lackeys or whatever down there, some deputy district attorney. He was a younger guy. He was probably around my age or so. And what's interesting is that he expressed to me in no uncertain terms his complete lack of faith in the judicial system, and confirming my belief and of everything, that this was indeed a total waste of time. So I'm sitting in this little room, and the courthouse building, in downtown Portland is got to be 10,000 years old. It's run down. It stinks. Its mechanicals are just, worthless. I'm in this little matchbox of a room, and it's one tiny little waiting room. I mean, I've seen, doctor's office waiting rooms that were bigger than this thing. And there's 2 doors in front of me. There's just a few seats around the perimeter of this little room. And there's posters over everywhere. A lot of, it's very interesting. I'm sorry, I'm going to go down this tangent really quick. Everywhere I went in the courthouse, I'm seeing posters about bullying. This is like this huge campaign now about bullying. And everywhere I looked, it was, stop bullying here, stop bullying in his tracks, speak up over here, go tell, mom and dad there. And it's just like one poster after another trying to get people to tattle on bullying. And look, I pick on the Cherokee all the time. I'm a bully. Sure. Why not? So, I guess I could be, lumped into that sort of thing. But nonetheless, it's just kind of odd to see all that stuff. So here I'm in this little waiting room surrounded by posters of bullies. And there's 2 jury rooms. And for anybody who's been to a grand jury indictment, it's certainly, you'd much rather go have a root canal than go through one of these things. But it's supposed to be a jury of your peers, or a jury of peers. I don't know. But out of one room, out walks this kid who's about 22 years old, I would guess, and had dreadlocks down to his shoulder blades. And, wearing, shoes with holes in them and stuff like that, and a T-shirt and sweatpants. I'm like, wow, that's how you show up to court, huh? Okay. I'm seeing people who looked like they were literally pulled off the street, sleeping under a garbage can or something like that. Just not exactly what I was expecting for a grand jury trial. Well, and it wasn't a trial. I misspoke. This is just some sort of an indictment thing. This is basically what they use to gather the list of formal charges before they actually go to trial, which is what I thought happened during an arraignment. But I guess an arraignment didn't happen, or this was taking place of an arraignment. I have no idea. Like I said, even the DA doesn't have very much faith in the judicial system. So it was myself, the deputy district attorney, and I think it was one of the arresting officers, maybe the detective. I don't know. There's a couple guys in there who I didn't know. I didn't recognize, and I didn't really strike up a whole lot of conversation with any of these people except for the DA because I had a few questions for him and stuff. So, but that's what it was all about, was questions. So one by one, we're called in to this room, and there's 6-7 people, in a horseshoe table or so, and it's pretty much who are you, why are you here, and what interest do you have in this case? Okay, thank you. We'll call you back here in a minute. And the next person comes in. And, they got to go through their thing. And it's all one at a time. Nobody knows what the other person's doing or anything like that. And it's very dry, very formal, and like I said, a complete waste of time. So after everything was all said and done, and I say my piece and go through what I know about everything, the DA, I go sit and I wait for a little while longer. The DA comes out, and I start talking to him about, okay, what happens from this point? And he said, well, we're going to charge him with this, that, and the other thing. And I found out that initially they were only charging him with felony to elude, or felony eluding from police by vehicle, and misdemeanor eluding by foot. And then I was like, well, he did steal my car after all. Can't we do something about that? And they can't prove that he was the one who actually stole the vehicle. He was just found with it and driving it. So I was thinking it was going to be possession of stolen property, which they may or may not throw at him, but they're definitely going to be hitting him with unlawful use of a motor vehicle. Okay, whatever. Just throw the book at him. I don't care. As long as he, rots in jail or whatever. I don't care. So I started asking him about some monetary compensation because, well, frankly, the car is damaged. And at recent total, it's about $4,000 worth of damage, which exceeds the value of the car, frankly. So I start talking to him about, well, how do I recoup these costs? I don't have full coverage on the car. It's not going to cover these sort of things. So, how can I recoup some of this? Is there possibility of restitution? And he's like, yeah, in fact, has anybody contacted you from a restitution department? I was like, no, of course not. So they're going to be sending me something in the mail. I got to go through some more stuff. They're going to subpoena me again for the actual trial, which he thinks may not even actually happen because the guy confessed already. So not to mention he's out on his own recognizance or whatever. He was released on some sort of supervised release program thing. I don't know. But what's going to happen is I got to jump through the hoops for the restitution. I will, obviously I'm going to win the case for the restitution. A judgment will be filed, and the judgment is going to stay with him for 50 years. So the kid's like 20, 21, 22 years old, something like that. So until he's 70, I will get a chunk of whatever paycheck he gets in between now and then, or tax return, lottery winnings, anything like that. And, it's going to be a pittance. I'm sure it's going to be, a check for 3 cents every now and again. But, we'll see. Nonetheless, a judgment will be filed, and it follows him for 50 years. So if eventually he does clean up his act, his wages are going to get garnished, and hey, I might see a check.
Well, it's something. I mean, that's it is something. And besides that, I don't see how they can hope to get any kind of convictions with all those bully signs up. I mean, I think that's sending the wrong sign to people wanting to put other people in jail. Well, do I really want to do that? Would that be bullying because I'm making people do something they don't want to do? And they're certainly going to feel bad about themselves being in jail. And, I think it's a bad sign, I think people need to man the hell up and learn how to take things. So
yeah, really. Well, I was a little disappointed to find out that he wasn't released on bail, because had he been bailed out, that means that somebody that has some disposable income was looking out for his best interest, which would mean that potentially the judgment might be carried over to them, or I could seek restitution through a next of kin or family. I don't know how any of that works, but That was my thought process of the whole thing.
Well, I'm sure you're thinking of it this way, and I think from our conversation on last show, you're not going to get a damn thing.
No.
That's the way to look at it. If you can get something that hangs over the guy's head because of the poor decision making that he made, like a judgment, that's great. And anything over that would be gravy. And you never know. You might see something, but just looking at it like nothing good is going to happen. Hey,
Right. Yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath. So,
hey, speaking of bullying, we need to straighten out something that Josh and I have been, guilty of here for quite a while. Probably more Josh than me, but that's not important.
We're not pointing fingers now, are we?
Well, I think that this little promo that Josh did kind of sums it up. Some great news for the XJ Talk Show, and here we go.
We here at the XJ Talk Show would like to take a minute to apologize for some of the things that have been said or otherwise conveyed in a negative manner towards another member of our Jeep family. We are, after all, a brotherhood of Jeep owners, and we should strive to stick together. Our negative attitudes got the better of us, and we let things get a little out of hand. So in the spirit of good journalism and proper radio or podcast etiquette, we hereby formally retract any and all negative statements that have been made towards the new Jeep Cherokee. We understand what it's like to be the new kid on the block. Hey, we've been there. In our angst, we forgot what it's like to be the new kid in class. And we were taken back by the decision to release a newly designed vehicle and to give it the same name as the little boxy Jeep we've all known to grow and love. It was nothing personal. We're all just a little nostalgic and stuck in our ways and acted in ignorance due to our unwillingness to let go of the past. After all, it is human nature to be afraid of, or at least cautious of new things. And with the 2014 Cherokee's stunningly attractive new design and myriad of electronic and driver-enhancing features, paired with its remarkable and industry-first 9-speed transmission, who could blame us? And to be honest, we may have been a little jealous of the optional Trailhawk package that gives owners of the new Cherokee features we were never offered when the XJs were still in dealerships. So in the hopes of wiping the slate clean and in a gesture that will hopefully spawn a new and long-lasting relationship, it is with great pride and pleasure that we announce the new sponsor of the XJ Talk Show, Jeep and the new Jeep Cherokee. Jeep, built free, and just like us, built in the USA.
Well, that's just great news, and I want to thank Jeep for sponsoring the XJ Talk Show and certainly helping us understand our misguided ways on the Jeep. Our thoughts, unqualified, and all those pretty words that Josh said.
Oh yes, it's been a lot of fun, but it has all been an error. We shouldn't be razzing the Cherokee that much. A little fun in games, a little poking at first, and obviously it got out of hand. So kind of extending the olive branch, and Jeep was kind enough to accept it because. Frankly, we were doing some damage to sales from what I understand. So, Jeep wasn't trying to have any of that. And they said, well, hopefully we can come to a happy medium. You guys stop talking trash about the Cherokee and maybe we'll go ahead and sponsor your show.
Hey, Josh, don't forget about that thing that we signed. We can't really talk about those things.
Well, I'm not going to get into specifics.
And if you guys haven't figured it out yet or not, we are lying our asses off.
Oh, through our teeth. Yeah, it's all farce.
Yeah. I still hate that piece of shit.
I can't stand it. I saw one the other day and I just wanted to run into it.
Ramming speed, Captain.
Full speed ahead.
That's, I do that at the grocery store. Have you noticed that people get the baskets all caddy corner and, it's just like, I want to tell them, hey, lady, get 2 more people. You'll have the aisle completely blocked. And
yeah, right.
You ought to see him move though whenever you scream out and come start pushing the basket fast. Ramming speed. This split like Moses is split into the Red Sea.
I'm going to take my GoPro with me to the grocery store. I'm going to strap that thing to the cart. And I swear to God,
Yeah.
the next time somebody is sitting there reading the back of a can of beans, fully blocking the aisle sideways, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Ramming speed. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Got to do it, man. You got to do it.
That'll be awesome.
Okay. We got one more here. And this one is serious. So we're not going to come back and say this. We're lying again. This is real serious. This is about a member of our Jeeping community and podcasting community as well, and heartfelt.
Hey guys, no, we're not doing the 4th of July episode early, but I do want to tell you that there's nothing more patriotic than serving your country. Around here at the XJ Talk Show, we have the utmost respect for those who serve in our armed forces. There's one soldier in particular that's been in the United States Army for a few years now. He's not only a fellow off-road enthusiast, but he's a longtime fan of the show and an active member at xjtalk.com. He also owns a pretty decently built Jeep Cherokee and is a veteran podcaster himself. You may know him best as the host of the 4x4 podcast. He's Dan Cole, and his unit is deploying out this week. Dan recently made a New Year's resolution to get out and wheel more. So I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say, Dan, keep your head down and be safe, and we'll see you back home and out on the trails real soon. If you'd like to know more about Dan or the 4x4 podcast, head over to the 4x4podcast.com. That's the 4x4podcast.com.
Yeah, you guys should reach out to Dan on Facebook and let him know. I think that he might actually be deployed by now, but he'll still be reading his Facebook post. Great friend personally, and also a great friend to the show. And yeah, be careful, Dan.
Absolutely, yeah, Dan. Hope to see you back home real soon. Like I said, keep your head down, buddy. We want to see you back. He's going to continue doing the 4x4 podcast. Not sure to what extent. Obviously, his episodes are probably going to be a little bit shorter now. He's got some help back here in the States to help out with some interviews and stuff. He's got a couple that are in the can that he's going to be releasing here over the upcoming weeks. But obviously, he's going to be having his hands full and be focused on some other things. So, but I highly suggest you guys to look him up on Facebook. Please head over to the 4x4 podcast. And obviously, he's doing a lot of the same work that we're trying to do here in a little bit broader of a market. But nonetheless, a longtime friend of the show, supporter, and forum user of xjtalk.com, and just nothing but the utmost respect for him and what he does.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the 4x4 podcast, Dan is really into the expedition. There you go. The expedition rigs. Well, I said it right accidentally the second time. I didn't know what to do for a moment. Anyway, he's in the expedition rigs and also to some of the off-road racing and things that we really don't talk about on this show, which is really the focus is on not hating the 2014 Cherokee. It's really focused on the Cherokee, the real one, the one that was 80-ish to 2000-ish version. So if you're interested in a broader 4x4 informational and fun podcast, certainly go over to the 4x4 podcast and listen in. And if you haven't heard any of the shows, or you've heard one or two and haven't listened to them recently, they got a whole bunch of them that you can go back and listen to. I think he's on like episode 56 or 57 now.
Yeah, just about there. He's about 50% behind us, I think. We're got about twice the number, but both the XJ Talk Show as well as the 4x4 podcast have their own respective archives. You guys can go back and just make yourselves sick with a bunch of off-road podcast listening. So entire archives at your disposal, 100% free and all online.
This is Pierce Umloff, Vice President of Jeep Camber USA, and you're listening to the XJ Talk Show.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one just sitting there listening to the XJ Talk Show. Why aren't you a part of it? What? Tell me more, you say? Well, it's pretty simple. You can become an XJ Talk Show reporter. All you need is a smartphone and the ability to talk to people. Just email reporter@xjtalk.com for more information.
First Week in Jeep.
Well, I don't know exactly when it was, but I did announce fairly recently here that Jeep was planning on making another full-sized rig. Obviously, the FSJs are sort of where our Cherokees came from, as the Cherokee Chief back in the 70s spawned the little boxy Cherokee that we all know and love. So they're thinking about bringing it back, and in fact, it's going to happen. Cherokee earlier this week announced a formal expansion of Jeep planned for in 2016. Chrysler Group is looking to expand Jeep sales by boosting production of its top-of-the-line Jeep Grand Cherokee next year and adding even a larger model to the sport utility brand in 2016. One plan under construction is to expand a Chrysler factory in Sterling Heights, Michigan, to build 2 Jeeps. According to people briefed on the plans in an internal company document reviewed by the Wall Street Journal, Chrysler would start building the Grand Cherokee at the suburban Detroit plant in mid-2015 and a year later add a new model. And according to the document, people familiar with the matter identified the second model as the Grand Wagoneer. Now, I broke that story at least sometime in the last few months, and there's designs have not leaked out yet. I'm hoping that it's going to be designed here in the United States and not in Italy, because I have a feeling it would end up looking like a gigantic tennis shoe. But we'll see what happens there. We've got a couple years to plan, and I'm sure there'll be some stuff leaked out between now and then. Now, you guys remember there was a big debacle over the summer about Grand Cherokees igniting and blowing up in fire, kind of like the Pintos did back in the 70s. Well, they tried to fix it with a trailer hitch fix. And the jury is still out on whether or not that's actually going to work, or whether or not it was an acceptable enough fix. But the Grand Cherokee, the model line at least, is not out of the fire yet. It's gotten some company. The U.S. safety regulators are adding the Dodge Durango to an investigation of ceiling fires in Jeep Grand Cherokees. Now, these aren't the ZJs that we're talking about. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or the NHTSA, says the probe now covers more than 593,000 SUVs from 2011 through 2013 models. The agency says an analysis of Chrysler data shows 52 possible fires and 3 injuries. Customers reported minor overheating or even flames. Investigators are focusing on electrical short. The Durango was added because it has the same ceiling and visors as the Grand Cherokee. Didn't know that. The agency has began the investigation in August, focusing on 146,000 Grand Cherokees from the 2012 model year. Investigators are also adding 2 model years to the probe. No recall has been ordered yet, and Chrysler says that engineers are doing all they can and making their own inquiry to helping out the safety agency. So we're going to see what happens with that. So nonetheless, Grand Cherokees, the later model years 2011 through 2013, and some Dodge Durangos, obviously sharing the same roof and visors, are potentially catching on fire. Just make sure you don't have too much jerry curl in, otherwise your head might go up too.
Now, I think I've mentioned this before. You talked a little bit about this last show, I believe, about the trailer hitch fix for the exploding gas tanks on the Grand Cherokee. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. I think there is a bit of personal responsibility whenever you have a vehicle that you understand that it may do things that you don't think that it will do in a crash. And certainly you don't want to be in a situation where you have your family or just even yourself in a vehicle that is unsafe and bursts into flames. However, I don't recall right offhand, but it seems to me that the number of fires that have actually occurred in Grand Cherokees is less than 100, possibly less than 50, maybe closer to 30. And of all the Grand Cherokees that they have sold, I think that pretty much any vehicle you can understand. I guess where I'm going at is on those 30 or so that I'm just pulling out of the air. I don't remember how many it was. Out of those 30 or so that fires did happen, how many times were people injured, and how was it factored in how badly the damage was for the fire to start? I mean, certainly there's you get pinned between two 18-wheelers front and back, things are going to get bent and they're going to break open. I guess the point I'm getting to here is that there's a certain level of personal responsibility that you have to take in driving a vehicle and where you drive it and how you drive it. And I think that we have to be really careful when the federal government does overreach. And I mean, some of these vehicles, they're 15 years old. I mean, are you really supposed to know what materials are going to do after 15 years?
And that was one of the big things that Chrysler used in their defense in saying, look, at the time when these vehicles were designed, they met, if not exceeded, all safety regulations and standards that were put forth at the time. So coming back to us, 15, 16, 20 years later and saying, well, these Jeeps have a problem. They're unsafe. Well, they were safe at one point. Whether or not they're still safe now is kind of sort of a moot point. In the sense that, look, if you want to drive a Model T down the road, and some guy in a Cadillac blows through an intersection, nobody's going to live through that in the Model T. But you were out on the road driving this vehicle that at the time was probably safe back in the day, at least safe enough. But nowadays is, a death trap. You wouldn't catch me driving a Pinto on the racetrack. It's just not going to happen. So, it's one of those things where, just like you said, you got to take some personal responsibility, not only for how you drive, but where you drive, and what you're driving more specifically. You want to drive a 15 or 20-year-old vehicle, it's not going to be as safe as modern vehicles. You got a family, maybe think about throwing them in a minivan or a Volvo before you throw them in a 20-year-old Grand Cherokee. And when you get plowed in the back by some, 16-year-old girl talking on her cell phone, and things, ignite on fire, well, that's probably par for the course in that kind of a collision. It's going to happen, and you're probably not the only one, at least as far as, rear end collisions and vehicles catching on fire. Look, we've talked recently here about, some Jeeps getting struck by trains, and there's been no reports of fires, oddly enough, in those. Now, granted, a lot of the details have been omitted or obscured or just hasn't been reported on, but people are living through a wreck involving Cherokees and trains. And if you can walk away from something like that and not be completely engulfed in flames and have every bone in your body broken, then I'd say that's a good day. So if somebody ends up with a fender bender on the freeway and a little gas leaks, and you get some metal on concrete, a spark happens, you're going to have some fire. I think that can happen with just about any vehicle, wreck combination that you could think of. It just happens that, the one gal who, I think maybe her son died or something like that, or there was a family member who, was killed because they couldn't get pulled out of the vehicle in time due to the damage of the vehicle and it being on fire. It's a tragic story nonetheless, but don't get your panties in such a bunch that you then, take on an entire automaker for, not predicting that their vehicle is not going to be safe enough in 18 years and you lose a family member because of it. It's not their fault. It's not your fault. It's just a, happenstance. It's a coincidence. It's a circumstance of the events that happened. And unfortunately, somebody died. I would chalk it up to, just like I said, an unfortunate accident. Obviously Jeep, Chrysler, they did what they could to try and throw a fix out there. Obviously they're not going to go back to the drawing board and redesign, a 1993 Jeep Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, just to appease this gal. So, hey, we've got some trailer hitches over here. This will reinforce the whole back area. For now, it looks like it might be good enough. Time will tell what will end up happening to this. Obviously, it's not forefront because there was stories coming out, 2-3 times a week about this thing, about these events, and well, not so much anymore. So maybe somebody was paid off. Maybe the trailer hitch was a good fix. In any case, again, it's a 15-year-old vehicle. You can't really expect too much.
Well, I think people finally shut the hell up whenever Chrysler came out with a fix, and they were hoping to get money. They were hoping to be reimbursed so that they didn't have to work. And I think this just goes along with our our federal government and its attack on rich people and rich companies. And, they should pay. Well, I don't know if you people can put this together or not, but by the time rich people and rich companies all pay, there's not going to be any rich people, and there's not going to be any vehicles except used ones for you to drive, because it's going to be too costly for companies to stay in business to build vehicles, especially whenever they're having the federal government come after them 15, 25. I mean, when does it end? 50 years later, are we going to be in the next century and all the Jeeps will be illegal, and if you're driving one and something happens, you'll get $1 billion? Come on, where does it end?
That's a really good point. And one other thing on that point is look, you sue an auto manufacturer like Chrysler or Jeep for a tragic accident. And let's say, some outrageous figure like, $550 million or something like that. You win the settlement, good for you. Yay. Now, that's a big chunk out of the bottom line, and potentially they got to close a plant now. Yeah. Now you just put, 30,000 people out of work because, your daughter died. It's tragic. I'm sorry, but now you just destroyed all these families, to prove a point. And I don't think that's very fair, especially under the circumstances. Now, if we say, okay, it was a 2014 Cherokee and the thing just erupted in flames and everybody died, well, hey, you shouldn't have done that to begin with. And yeah, maybe you got a lawsuit there because this is supposed to be state-of-the-art technology. It's supposed to be cutting-edge safety, technology put in this thing. So, why would this thing happen? But, why would this accident happen? But, you look at a vehicle that's 15, 18, 20 years old, and expect it to be as safe as the latest vehicle that was just released. It's just unrealistic.
Now, there are some some real issues that have happened recently with vehicles. I think it was maybe 2 years ago, the Ford F-150 was sitting all by itself, not doing anything, and would burst into flames. I can't remember if it was the auto.
Wait a minute. Ford made a vehicle that just would spontaneously combust.
Oh, you don't remember this? Yeah, there was people that had lost their garages and houses because they were attached garages, and it was something about there was some mechanism. I think it was for the cruise control on the Ford F-150, and it would heat up just sitting there.
Boy.
You didn't have to be driving it. I mean, that's the worst thing of it. I mean, you talk about somebody being caught in a fire in a vehicle. Well, this is parked in your garage or parked outside, and it would literally catch the vehicle on fire. And there was a big recall about it. You don't remember this?
No, I honestly did not hear anything about that. Or if I did, it went in one ear and out the other. I'm not a huge Ford fan, but nonetheless, I mean, I figured that would have popped up on my radar.
Yeah, no, it was their flagship truck. You know, the Ford F-150, and now that's a situation that I think that somebody did something that they shouldn't have done. They screwed up. They didn't get some, and truth be told, if they did all their testing and they didn't see this issue, and it had to be in a certain situation or after a certain amount of time that this failure would occur, okay, fine. But I mean, that's a recall. That's something that you need to take care of, because you don't even have to be with the vehicle, so you can't even try to get out or try to move it away from your house or whatever. So now that's a serious situation, being run into and having a gas leak and a potential fire. Well, that I can kind of say was, gee, that's a bad situation. Anyway, we'll stop beating that dead horse. I'm just saying I think it's a little unfair for the federal government to go after vehicles that are that old and try to extort money out of a corporation for very, very, very few incidents that this has occurred. I mean, it's to me it's insane. And I think we ought to be able to sue the federal government and shut these bastards up occasionally. Because apparently we can't vote them out. So we ought to be able to come up with some other way of doing it. Now, another thing that I wanted to mention about the Grand Cherokee and the new 2014 Cherokee, Josh, why do these things have to look like shoes?
Why are they making shoes look like vehicles? Look, maybe I'm just a little. Maybe I'm just a little old-fashioned, but some of the tennis shoes, especially the basketball shoes that are coming out nowadays, they're just plain hideous. I mean, they look like somebody took a bunch of clay, scraped some lines in it, molded it into a shoe shape, and said, "Here you go. We're gonna paint this neon green now." And obviously, it's all about aerodynamics and stunning, new designs and breaking the mold and all that other cliche BS. Look, I believe in form over function, or function over form. Either way you look at it, some of these things are just hideous to look at. And, especially the new Cherokee. It's just, I don't know. Maybe because I love my Cherokee so much. I love the XJs. I love the boxy Jeep, where it all started, with the wheelies. It's always been boxy. It's always been, flat fender. It's always been aerodynamics out the window. Let's just make this thing plain simply work. Mm-hmm. And they, I guess, threw that whole concept out the window and left it to the Italians this time around.
Well, I've said it before. They made a slightly smaller version of the Grand Cherokee.
I think they made a Kia.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
And that's the other problem. That's the problem with the Grand Cherokee styling is it doesn't look like anything other than the other 50 million other SUV yuppie station wagons that are rolling around out there.
You're right. It's all crossover, styling. It's all, well, it's an SUV. No, it's a car. No, it's a minivan. Well, it's kind of all of them. Let's just go ahead and call it this. Mm-hmm. And that's what we get now. We've got, all these vehicles. You're right. They all have very, very similar stylings. Now, one thing I will say about the Grand Cherokee is that once it went to the WJ and things kind of started getting a little bit roundy, that styling has gone through a fairly steady progression of evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And where it's at today is kind of sort of what I have expected of the Grand Cherokee to end up looking like. Now, granted, this new Cherokee has taken all of that and gone way out into left field. And I don't know. I've said it from the beginning. They shouldn't have called it a Cherokee, but I mean that's just my 2 cents.
How about a Grand Cherokee 2?
Grand Cherokee Light.
Let
the Patriot. Call it a Liberty. Call it anything else but a Cherokee.
Let the Grand Cherokee owners be the ones that have to go up there and answer, oh, is it a Grand Cherokee or a Grand Cherokee 2 at the auto parts place? Let them deal with that for a little while.
Like Ford did the Bronco and they did the Bronco 2.
Yeah.
And so it worked.
And the Bronco,
everybody knows the difference.
I'll tell you this, the Bronco was a much nicer vehicle than the Bronco 2.
Yeah, you're
Bronco was really nice. It was a really cool vehicle, nice 4-wheel drive. I never had one. They were riding around. I saw them riding around quite a bit in the 80s, and they were a pretty cool vehicle. Boxy, but a boxy can be fine. Yeah, unfortunately, I think that the only thing that we see on the new 2014 Jeep Cherokee that even is remotely Jeep looking is the 7-slot grill. And I haven't counted it. I'm hoping it still has 7 slots.
Boy, it better. Or I'm going to be writing a very stern letter.
It's funny. I was going to post something about writing a stern letter, and I did an image search on Google, and I figured somebody had taken the time to write to draw some letter of the alphabet with maybe the brow furrowed and looking sternly, and I couldn't find it. I thought it would be hilarious, I just put up I'll send a stern letter and then have this image of this letter looking stern.
Jay with a couple of down pointing eyebrows. Yeah.
The only thing I saw was Howard Stern, so I stopped looking.
Oh yeah, don't want to go down that trail too far.
No. Are you? I know we're going off on another tangent here, but are you a Howard Stern fan? I have never been able to stand the guy.
Back in the day, when shock jocks were it was fresh and I can't believe you just said that. Oh, they're getting away with it. They're putting it on the radio. Oh my God. It was interesting. It was cutting edge. It was raw back then. And then at some point in time, maybe it was around the time that he made the transition to satellite radio, it was kind of like jumping the shark. It was a little bit more of the same. Okay, seen that, done that, heard that. Okay, yeah, what do you got that's new, Howard? I don't know. I have nothing but respect for the guy for what he's done for his career. He's made it. And nobody doesn't know the name Howard Stern. So, I got to give him some credit in the fact that he's definitely made something for himself and carved himself out a nice little niche in the world of broadcasting. Now that being said, was the move to satellite radio the right thing for him? I don't know.
Financially, I'm sure it was a great move because it was millions of dollars, and I personally liked it because I don't hear from him anymore.
Yeah, well, I liked it too because on terrestrial radio, who took his place was Adam Carolla, and I'm a big fan of Adam Carolla. And Adam Carolla is obviously now a very successful podcaster as well, and is doing great things as far as internet radio goes. So kudos to him. And I think if it wasn't for Howard Stern making that move, guys like Howard Stern and Adam Carolla and others who have made a very good name for themselves in the podcasting world wouldn't have had the opportunity, or certainly that opportunity wouldn't have risen quite as soon if it wasn't for Howard Stern getting out of the way, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of a shame. Although I guess if you're going to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars, it's not such a bad deal when somebody who may or may not be better, more talented, at least the public feels that way, and they move on to something else, and there's now a void that you can fill. I mean, I think it'd be better to be number one, but if you get lots of money, I guess that can cure a lot of hurt feelings.
Yep, no doubt. Well, look, I feel like we're starting to get into that realm of zombie talk that have pissed off some of our listeners, like Denver D1. So let's go ahead and steer this ship back into the world of Jeep if we can here. And let me ask you a quick question, if I may, Tony.
Walkers. Oh shit!
You were talking through it. You weren't hearing it. Go ahead. What was the question?
Oh yeah, no. What I was going to say is the lights that you've recently done a lot of LED upgrades.
Yes.
And you had a somewhat close call. I saw on the xjtalk.com YouTube channel. You post up a video here recently of some very rainy, looks like early morning traffic, and somebody dang near. Well, they did cut you off. They swerved right in front of you, and you lit them up with the lights. Man, that was very cool. And I don't know if you had seen it coming and you started reaching for that switch, and yep, okay, Jackass is going to go ahead and make that move, and sure enough, flip the switch. And how gratifying was that to just light the back of that guy up like it was the surface of the sun?
Well, Josh is talking about a video that is actually a private video on YouTube right now. Because
I'm sorry.
No,
I
it's
didn't.
okay.
I didn't.
No, it's okay. And what I'm going to be doing is I had put that together real quick because a local TV station, the traffic lady was talking about being careful out in the rain, and I said, drive carefully out in the rain. And this had happened several days earlier, so I quickly got the video and pulled out that segment and posted it so that I posted up on YouTube so I could actually send a link to her and the folks at the station just to let them see about how people drive in the rain. Now, what I was doing is I was coming off of Interstate 10 and here in Texas, and it may be more widespread than just in Texas. What they've done is they've gone away from a separate on-ramp and exit from the freeway to a single on-ramp exit. So basically, So basically you get off, and if you do not change out of that lane, you move over one more to the right, you're going to be getting back on the freeway. But that means that the vehicles that are trying to get on the freeway have to get in the lane that you're in. So there's this switching that has to occur, and people are timid. And perhaps more so whenever it's raining, and and it's arguable that that's a good thing. But if you're not going the right speed between the people that are on the feeder wanting to get in the lane to get on I-10 or any major thoroughfare here in the Texas area, the Houston area, if you're going slow, and then this other person, they're going slow, and they need to get over, and you need to get over, and well, this BMW SUV was not even in the lane to get into the on-ramp. He was one more over. And
I was going to say, it looked like he was sort of doing some lane splitting. I couldn't tell exactly with the amount of rain that was coming down and that was on the road, exactly where the lanes were, because it looked like just an absolute cluster F of traffic, this mishmash of cars going one way and the other.
And that's the problem with this bastardized on-ramp thing. And I'm sure that it's saving Texas money because they're not having to build off ramps and then separate on ramps. They just build one that's both. But this is the problem. People freaking lose their mind whenever it comes to making decisions. And I'm sure they're busy texting or, adjusting the radio or talking to the person. And this asshole in the BMW decides that he wants to, or she wants to come over. Now, the miscalculation that I made was I didn't really realize how light a color the vehicle was. So when I lit it up and it was a last minute decision. I really am trying not to use the power that I have.
Yes. Use it for good, not evil.
Yeah. And actually that was the first time I've used it, but I thought that was such a blatant thing that they needed to understand that was a really bad decision that they made. And I don't know if you could tell from the video or not, they were almost at a stop. They were at least 20 miles an hour or slower trying to get on an on-ramp to go down the freeway. And you really can't tell it in the video. I mean, it may look bright, but if you were there in person, and the reflection, just the reflection off the back of that silver colored, it was like white.
You were seeing BMWs every time you closed your eyes everywhere.
Oh my God, that's some bright light. and I don't know if you noticed it or not. And what I was going to mention earlier is this little segment will be in a video that I'll be putting together about drivers losing their frickin' minds. Because I've got about 3 or 4 incidents now that I want to put together in a montage video. And I'm sure it's me. I mean, my wife wasn't there, but I'm sure she'll say it was my fault.
Oh, okay. I don't know. It looked like you were in your lane. You kind of had a line and you were going, and then it just all this craziness was happening in front of you. So I had to bring that up because I wanted to talk about those lights really quick and how that must have just been awesome to be able to light that guy up like that. But yeah, like you said, trying to use it for good and not evil. I think I commented on that video on YouTube, and it said something along the lines of, "Boy, if only you had had a train horn hooked up, you could have done some double damage."
Well, I'm gonna, because I had to reach up and hit the overhead switches to turn the 2 7-inches and the 120-inch LED light on. I really need to get that thing onto the high beam switch, so that all I have to do, because it'd be very simple to hit the high beams and have all of them come on, and to just have a switch that if the switch is on, then it's tied to the high beam switch. If the switch is off, then it's not. It would just be regular high beam. So,
that would be relatively easy too. With just a single pole double throw switch and a relay, and you'd be good to go.
Yep. That's what I was thinking, and then it would be real easy to tie the air horn into it as well, and then I've got shock and awe.
That's right. That's right. Well, hopefully Tony will go ahead and get that air horn hooked up one of these days, and we'll have even some more interesting videos. You got to get that ready for summer, man. That air horn summer. Girls walking down the sidewalk, give them a nice little blast.
I don't think that the wife would understand very well, and my adult daughters would not understand very well either. Yeah. Daddy, why are you honking at those girls? You know that they're 5 years younger than me. You see where that's going. Hey, guys, don't forget.
No, nothing but trouble.
Yeah.
Nothing
hey, guys, don't forget we have a live show every Thursday night, 10 p.m. Central Time, and of course we have our podcast. If you guys know about the podcast, that's available on iTunes, Stitcher, and Zune. You remember Zune, don't you? The Microsoft attempt.
Still around? Yeah.
So, and you can also go to the xjtalkshow.com website. Please go over to YouTube/xjtalk and see our videos. You can see the live video, or at least the video that we recorded during the live show there. And hey, comments, questions. We got a voicemail line. You got that voicemail number, Josh?
Yes, I do. Sure do, guys. Please call that voicemail line 24/7. It's 530-675-4102. Hope to hear from you soon.
All right. So that was about an hour.
Yeah.
Right at it, actually.
Very good.
All right. Do you want to, we don't have to do a promo if you don't feel like it.
We can do a promo. Let me, it's probably going to be a relatively quick one here. Let me go ahead and just start getting the script ready here. Well, guys, this is the point in the show where we enter the after show. For those of you who have stuck around all the way through the live show and beyond, well, we have the pre-show, which Tony and I do ahead of time. And this enters the phase of things where Tony and I will reminisce about the show and talk about other things that are podcast related, and of course talk about what we do off the air and off the cameras, which is our promo, which is usually released for the show relatively soon afterwards.
Yep. This is the after show, just kind of like, almost exactly like Afterbirth, and we'll be showing you the placenta here in just a moment.
It's nearly not quite as messy.
One lucky audience member will be selected to cut the umbilical cord.
Jeez.
Real men will use their teeth.
Oh boy.
It's a nice, it'd be like a good image for, instead of, got milk, it'd be like got V8. I once had a conversation with a lady at a party. I don't go to many parties, but we were talking about our children. My wife was at this. It was a company party, and we were talking about how and Cassie at the time was very young. I'm sure she was like 1, 2, 3 years old, and we were talking about how just perfect and beautiful and everything that she was, and she did very well, rated very well. You know how when you have a baby, the doctor or the nurse rather will rate the baby as far as, breathing and color and so on and so forth, just from the overall health standpoint. And that she did very well. And then of course the lady we were talking to, the coworker, she says, "Oh, my baby was blah 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 blah," kind of like doing the one up thing. And it was just normal. It wasn't her trying to pick a fight, but it was just like it was an opportunity for me to start embellishing. So I embellished and I said, "Oh yeah," and Cassie was walking by the time she was 9 months old, and she goes, and then the friend was like, "Oh yeah, well, I think so and so was 8 months old," and I said, "Well, actually, I misstated that. She actually walked out during the birth. She was walking. She just walked straight out of the vagina."
And I'm out of here.
Yeah. So
see you guys in the car. I'll be right there.
So that kind of did the whole one up thing. One other thing happened. I remember on the birth of our second child, Mandy. Now, when Cassie was born, my wife had dilated too much to get the drugs to make the birthing easier. So she had to go through the full, she had to go through the full thing, and it was just horrible. She was really concerned that she was going to die, and it was.
Did you have a bad reaction to it, or was
it was just a lot of pain. She had never been through that much pain. So anyway, when Mandy came along and we were there to have her delivered, we were talking to the nurse that was attending my wife, and my wife was saying, the nurse was asking, how are you doing? She goes, "Great, I feel great." She had the epidural, and she was feeling really good. And she started telling the nurse about that it was just really terrifying, our prior child. And then I jumped in and I said, "Yeah, there was kicking, there was screaming, there was biting." And then I did a pause and looked at this very serious and looked in the nurse's face, and I said, "And that was just the conception." And my wife does a face palm, and he's like, "Oh my God, he's kidding." And the nurse goes, "Okay," and turned around and walked off. I mean, and she was such a straight face.
Oh, well done, sir.
It was hilarious. It was just simply hilarious. And I got nothing from that nurse. It was just like, not a shock, not a laugh.
Come on, this is comedy gold right here. I just laid upon you the golden grail of comedy one-liners here, and you just walk away. Come on.
Okay,
give me a chuckle, something.
Yeah. She just kind of was like, and turned around. Now I'll give you one other one. This one was a little bit iffy. So we had a boss, and it was actually this guy's party that I was talking about earlier. We had this boss, and he actually the corporate office was up at North Belt in Houston, and we were down closer to the southwest portion where the computer center was. So he would come at least every other Friday and would do what I would basically do the handshake tour. The reason for him being there was to walk around and say hello to people and shake their hands. He wasn't there to do anything. It was just one of those things about, I'm in the Grand Tower, away from you people, and I just want to come here and let you guys know that you're important to us, and blah, 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 blah. I always looked at that, and I knew what it was, and it always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But I tried to be a company guy and just shake the hand and smile. Well, I had an opportunity one time to actually kind of rebel a bit. I was coming out of the bathroom, and I always wash my hands. And even though I dry them, you know how it is. You can still have a little dampness with your hands. And Mr. Beckham, I came out of the bathroom, and boom, there he was. and boom, here comes out the hand. It's Friday. It's handshaking day. And I looked at the hand and I said, I'm sorry, my hand's still a little damp. He goes, that's okay. Like, that's okay, son. And I stuck my hand in his hand and I grasped it firmly. And I said, looked him square in the eye and I said, it's water.
There, I'm sure the gears were turning there for a second. And yeah. He's like, huh?
And I didn't, I don't smile when I say these things. I do them serious. I said, it's okay. It's water. And he kind of looked at me, nodded, and let go of my hand and walked away. I was fired shortly thereafter.
Were you really?
No, I'm just lying.
Okay. I was going to say.
No, that was a 16-year career, and I was there long after he was gone. I got nothing out of him either. No smile, no laugh. I mean, that was another thing.
Some people just don't have a sense of humor. One thing I like about what I do for a living is that, granted, I work with some interesting folks, but most of them have a great sense of humor. And I laugh every day at work.
Oh, that's
every
great.
Day I have a good, solid laugh, a lot of good times, a lot of good chuckles, and some friendly ribbing, and I work with several comedians, and we're all just a bunch of guys, and we all have a great sense of humor, and so the jokes fly, and the one-liners come out, and things get horribly inappropriate at times, but nonetheless, we have a good time. And if it wasn't for that and the fact that I enjoy literally what I do to get paid, I probably wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't face this horrendous commute that I have to deal with every day. But I look forward to going to work, to do what I do, and to do what I do with who I do it with. And boy, say that 10 times fast.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
A lot of do's in there. But no, and it's, if it wasn't for that, I mean, I bring levity everywhere I go. I'm a joker. I'm a comedian. I'm a practical joker. I like to laugh. I think that's going to be one of the things that as they're putting me in the ground, they're going to say, this was a guy who liked to laugh. And I enjoy that aspect of work, even though I really don't like working, having to get up every day and make that commute. Having that laughter injected into my daily work, my daily routine, really helps. And it's not just with who I work. Honestly, if things were dry and very formal and stuff, I would still find a way to get a laugh out of the day. It's just one of those things that I do, and I enjoy every aspect of it.
That's great. And, when you're talking about that, I think about the deputy district attorney who must have a job that is very much not like that.
Yeah. No doubt. I can't imagine, I guess it takes a different kind of person to, at some point in your life, make the decision to be a lawyer. And what drives that decision, I don't know. I mean, obviously, he was probably a kid that played a lot of cops and robbers or something, and he was always the cop, and it was always about justice. I don't know. I have no idea. But it's certainly not a job that would suit me well. It's got to be taken too seriously, at least for the most part. I mean, probably 30 seconds after meeting me, I'm sure that he could tell that I had a sense of humor about myself. So, and that might be where that came from. He was comfortable enough around me that he felt, comfortable enough he could sort of, interject a little bit of that. I don't have a whole lot of faith in this. This is definitely going to be a waste of time type of thing. So it's maybe he's cut from a different kind of cloth, because I've only met a few lawyers in my day, and they were all very stuffy and, I'm not going to say full of themselves, because there really isn't a lot of arrogance about it. It's just always a formality. It's always, being a lawyer, and it's not something I could do. Not something I could do. I'd be held in contempt every day.
That's what I was thinking. That'd be my situation, because I have a quick wit, and I have the best timing to say inopportune things. So I'm sure that I would be using that, especially when I get pissed off about things. and I could see me getting very pissed off about injustices that were happening in the courtroom. But I think being a lawyer would, at least from what I think I know about it, I think it would be very interesting. I don't know that I'd want to be a public defender or a district attorney. That kind of almost sounds like a no-win situation. I think it'd be more fun to, I don't know, maybe represent hookers or something.
We specialize in the oldest industry in the world.
Well, that would be lawyers or bankers. Yeah, it'd be pretty funny if one of two things happened, that we either hear from Jeep about doing advertising or hear from Jeep's lawyers.
Yeah, we're going to get a cease and desist here in the mail anytime now.
How dare you? And we want our Cherokees back. From my dead, cold hands. You know, I'm really surprised that anybody is still hanging on to, well, it was originally called global warming, and then it was changed to climate change because, you know, things were getting colder. Just unbelievable. You know, I don't know if you follow any of the, well, you do, you do follow a bit of the paranormal stuff.
Oh yeah.
Years ago, there was a story, and you know, it's a story. You don't know if it's true or not. But years ago, there was a story, actually several, I believe, of a UFO visitation, daylight visitation, in which the occupants of the UFO told some children, I believe, that we were damaging the planet and bad things were going to happen, and we needed to. I think basically we were going to be killing off all the sea life, and when you start killing off the sea life, there's the whole domino chain of events. Yep. And I seem to remember something along the lines of the global warming thing being talked about from the UFO occupants many years ago, before it came to the forefront of the news and this big push and almost religious, almost religion that it's become. So I've got this. Hang on. I didn't bring me anything to drink, and I was so ill prepared. So I got this theory. That Al Gore was visited by aliens and was told.
That would explain a couple of things.
Yeah, and was told, and he maybe even shown what was going to happen to the Earth with this climate change and the eventual freezing of the planet and the Earth snowball type thing. And it was up to him to ring the bell, the warning bell, to save humanity. And we needed massive changes quickly. And whenever he went to the scientists, either directly or indirectly, and they were not getting the evidence necessary, then he brought them in, or perhaps even had the aliens show them the same information. So they started doctoring the data because they bought into this thing that the aliens were telling this that was going to happen. I mean, it's always possible he was just doing it for money, but I kind of like this theory where, you know, we're all going to die freezing, which isn't a bad way to go. Well, the majority of us are. And Al Gore can stand there shaking his fist naked, wanting a happy ending. I told you so. And he would be almost lifelike. He'll be so animated.
All right. Just going over this in my head, I'm under 20 seconds. So
we can talk like we're from Texas. Hey guys.
seriously, there's I can't remember where the company is at. One of our customers, the engineer who I frequently deal with from them, I swear to God, he sounds like a drunk John Wayne.
Well,
I
I'll
kid
tell
you
ya.
not. I mean, I can't even do the drawl, and he's really slow with what he talks about, and it's almost kind of hard to even listen to him sometimes. And when I'm trying to talk technical to the guy, anytime I see his number come up on my phone, or I have to engage this guy through any other means other than email, which is my preferred method of communication with this particular guy. I cringe because it's like, oh God, this is going to be a half hour out of my day that I'm never going to get back. It's more than likely going to be a complete waste of time, and he's going to have no idea what I'm talking about. So, yeah, that's how that goes, and that seems to be about a once a month sort of thing.
Well, I guess that's why they call it work.
Yeah.
Got to put up with all of it.
All right, are we still broadcasting?
Yes, we are.
All right. Well, I think we're ready to start doing the promo. If you want to go ahead and flip the switch.
What the were you thinking?
Worse than that, even.
All right, guys, this is the part where we say goodbye, the real goodbye, the big goodbye, the good night for at least a week until next Thursday, 10 p.m. Central Time. This is the part where Josh and I do the video and audio promo. And boy, you guys have really sucked up the audio promo. I'm hoping everybody likes that. Okay, we do take it down when we release the actual show, but hoping that you don't mind getting a little taste, a little promo of the show a few days ahead of the release. And then, of course, the show comes out on Monday, midnight. Hang on. The part of the lung just came up. So the show comes out on Monday at midnight, and the promo will probably be out tonight. So if you see something that is there for download, it's just a little 30-second or so little chat about what you're going to be hearing on the show. If you've already listened to this, or if you've already listened or watched this tonight, then it will be all old hat. But you still might want to listen to the promo, because we're doing some fun things on there, like the wave gag that we've been doing at the end of the promos. So I think it's my turn this week to figure out something it's funny but not too cutting to Josh. So anyway, we'll catch you guys next week, and hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll let Josh tie the ribbons on it.
Yep. Thanks, guys, for all your support. Make sure you're telling a friend, and we will see you next week.
That's it. I talked for a good minute and a half and coughed once.
I can sneeze.
See you guys. Wow, it didn't actually have to have me log in to stop the stream.
Oh, was there an update recently?